Hey everyone, today I'm going to go a little bit brighter and on a different place. The thing is that I'm going to talk about 4 movies, so let's just begin. The first movie I want to talk about is one that I didn't think I was going to like so much, but I just ended up adoring this movie, and this is The Power of the Dog, directed by New Zealand director Jane Campion. It stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Cody Smith-McPhee, Jesse Plemons and Kirsten Dunst, and it's basically the story of 2 men that are brothers, and one of them is really rough and goes straight to whatever he wants, and the other one is a little bit shy, and he meets this lady that has a son. She's a widow, and she eventually falls in love with him, and they get married and live together in the same house with the other brother and their son and all of that, and tensions ensue because the other brother is just not really into that kind of relationship. He just wants to do his macho things all the time. I have to say that many things in this movie that I just think that they were going to happened, which is fine, but it's the way that it happens that you just fall in love with the movie. Even the title, it doesn't seem to make sense until you realize what it means, and then what happens stemming out from that is just amazing. It's just kind of beautiful if you really analyze the movie. I mean, it shouldn't be a beautiful movie, but it is. I mean, not only because it's set in the most gorgeous mountains of Montana you have ever seen, but because the characters are all real. They're real people. They really feel like someone that you would hear about or know about or be, actually. So it's really interesting how they come along, and how the story finishes is just not surprising, but really interesting. And I think it's very good that a movie tries to be one thing and then at the end is just another completely different thing, and that's just amazing. They don't really make them like that anymore, and that's sad because this kind of storytelling is just fantastic. I think all the performances are amazing. I think Benedict Cumberbatch and Kirsten Dunst and Cody Smith-McPhee might be winning Academy Awards. This movie is just amazing. It's on Netflix, and I advise everyone to see it because it's just so different. It's differently paced. It's not fast. It really requires you to interpret a lot of things and to really analyze it after you watch it, because it's not like a fast movie like it explains everything. You need to think about a couple of things, but that makes it so much more interesting. So that is The Power of the Dog. The second movie I'm talking about is also on Netflix, and that's Passing. That's directed by actress turned director Rebecca Hall, and as you see, women have been having this amazing year in film. Last year was the same thing, and I don't know if it's the pandemic or what it is, but I mean, they're doing great. I think it's really moving on fantastically for women on Hollywood, so that's great. This movie, it stars Ruth Negga and Tessa Thompson, and it tells the story of 2 women that find each other after many years, and they realize that each of them has, in one way or the other, tried to pass as white women, and one of them has made that her way of life basically, while the other just uses it whenever she feels like it basically. And this is a story that comes from Rebecca Hall's grandfather's life, because she discovered that she was part black from her grandfather because he passed as a white man, because his skin color was a little bit lighter than many other black people. So it's very interesting how that hasn't really been discussed, and how actually racism can have different shades if the skin color is different. I mean, of course, dark-skinned people are really more rejected. They are treated awful, and light-skinned people tend to be less prone to that. And it's not that racism doesn't touch them, but it's different, let's just say. The performances in this movie, of course, by these 2 actresses are just their perfection. I think Ruth Negga is a very interesting character because you can never really feel exactly where she's coming from, and that's really interesting. But it's also Tessa Thompson being so armored. She's never out of that armor at all in the movie, just maybe a couple of seconds at the end, end, and then you discover that things could be a little bit darker, a little bit more grittier. And the third movie we're talking about is Spencer. Spencer is already available to purchase online, and of course this movie stars Kristen Stewart, that you might know from the Twilight movies mainly. And Kristen Stewart has had a really interesting few years because she has been doing different kinds of movies. She's been trying to do different things with her art, and it's really paying off. Spencer is the story, of course, of Diana Spencer, or as you might know her, the Princess of Wales, Lady Diana. And of course we have had a lot of her story in The Crown, the last season of The Crown. But this story, as Pablo Larraín, who is the director of this movie, says it's not really a retelling of something that actually happened, but more an interpretation of her life, and that's really interesting. I like that in this movie you don't only see Diana as this flawed and imprisoned character, but also as a mother, and we didn't really see that on The Crown, except like from when her children are like babies. I mean, then the children kind of disappear of the story, which is kind of weird, but in this one they are really central to keeping her in line with whatever she's feeling and with reality, basically, because this movie tries to say that she's going mad, basically. She's just going down because the situation she's in that demands so much from her, it's just causing her to doubt even reality. That's something very interesting to consider about a person in that position, because you think of Princess Diana, someone who was incredibly wealthy, for example. She had everything, basically. That's what you think, and then you realize, oh, she didn't really have everything. She lacked love, she lacked contact with people that really wanted her to be there, and that's really beautifully depicted in the movie. Of course, Kristen Stewart's performance is the best part of the movie. It is the movie. I mean, the movie is nothing without Kristen Stewart making it, and at the start you're like, oh, this is a bit too much, she's doing a bit too much with the character, but then you realize, oh my god, that's perfection, because she captures the Diana that was in front of the cameras, if you will, and then the Diana that probably her children and people that were close to her really knew, and that was revealed to be the case later on when she divorced and before she died, of course. So that makes it an incredible movie, that it's very interesting. It has this aura of like a dream. That was the case also for Jackie, which is the movie that Pablo Larraín did about Jacqueline Kennedy starring Natalie Portman, and that had also the same quality of, is this a dream, is this reality, what is happening? But I think it really works with these women that are just mystical in a sense. So that's Spencer. And the last movie I want to talk about is Belfast, that's directed by Kenneth Branagh, who is also an actor, and he tells the story of a family in Northern Ireland while awful things are happening in that part of Ireland, of the UK, or whatever you wanted to put it. In the island of Ireland, that's really difficult to say. These people are suffering from car bombs and people that are pitting Catholics against Protestants, and everything is going insane, and it's really crazy. And of course, in all of this, there's a little boy that doesn't really understand everything that is happening, but he's just watching what happens to his family, to his grandparents, to his mother, to his father, to his friends, and he realizes that something is not right. And that's really interesting about the movie, that it takes the point of view of a child in order to tell the story of a people, basically of a group of people that are just having a really tough time in the place that they live in, and the place that they love, to be honest. I think the movie lacks a little bit more of that love for the place. I would have loved to have seen much more of Belfast, the city, in order to fall in love with it too. But I think it has really good performances, especially from Ciarán Hinds and from Judi Dench. I think they played the perfect couple of grandparents ever. I mean, they're really cute and just wise, basically. And Katrina Balfe, I think her name is pronounced, does a great job doing the mother type of role, but I have seen that so many times that I'm not really that interested in her character, sadly. I mean, she does a great job, but it's also like Jamie Dornan, who plays the father. I mean, yeah, Jamie Dornan is different. He passed from 50 Shades of Grey to this, and he has a different character here and whatever, but it doesn't impact, it doesn't make it special. I mean, I don't really see anything particular about this father, if you will. Of course, the kid is really funny, although the kid can be a little bit too much at times. I think that movies tend to make children a little bit too annoying, a little bit too cinematic, if you will, and it makes them fake. I don't like that. I mean, there are points in the movie where the kid is like, okay, calm down, because that's not what a normal kid would do. And not every kid is like that. It's like our idea of what a kid must be like, basically. So it's kind of weird, but thank God it's grounded by a fantastic screenplay, by the beautiful cinematography, and again by the performances of the actors that play his grandparents. So I mean, watch Belfast, because it's a really interesting story, even if it doesn't go as deep as it should, basically. Thank you so much then for watching these 4 movie review. I'm going to edit this and try to make it as short as possible. Of course, please comment down below whatever you thought about these movies, like this video, share on social media, and of course subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. Goodbye.